In a sentence, sidechain compress the reverb to the hit. Which sounds better than not doing this. Lovely stuff, but let me show you the details. With the reverb here on a return track. So on track 1 we have just the snares, no reverb at all. And on track A, just the reverb. As you can hear, that's just the reverb. And in the case of Ableton, we send it out there using this guy here, or this guy here. And if you're not in Ableton, you might call this an effects bus. Essentially putting this effect on its own channel. Note the dry wet there are 100% wet, so we're hearing just the reverb on that channel. Now, the sidechain compression. Here we have it in sidechain mode. If you can't see that, click this little arrow here in the case of Ableton. And routing into this, we have these snares, or whatever hit you're using. Now, take a look at the orange line in this box here. This is the gain reduction trace. This gain reduction curve is really just the volume being changed. So as the line goes down, the volume is being turned down, and as the line comes back up, the volume returns back to normal. Easy to hear maybe if I solo the reverb. And to compare, let's turn it off. So when the snare hits, the reverb's been turned down, and then when the snare stops, the reverb level gets turned back to normal. So we're really just turning the volume of the reverb up and down. Importantly, when the snare hits, we turn the reverb down, and when the snare finishes, the volume returns to normal. Giving this pumping effect. What about that utility, turning it up 4 dB? Why am I turning that off and on with the compression? I can do this because of something called gain compensation. With no sidechain compression, check the level on the master. Around -4.5 or so. Now, with the sidechain compression, I mean, even with the gain increase, it's still lower. So we could in fact turn it up a touch more if we wanted to, but that's okay. Essentially, because we're dipping the reverb when the snare's hitting, we have more room in the mix, more room to turn up the reverb, which is part of the reason why this sounds better, but not the main reason. One more time for comparison. 2 more quick things. First of all, how am I turning these off and on so easily? The answer's this key mode. Forget its technical name. Do Command K to open it up. So as you can see, I've assigned the number 1 on my keyboard to turn these off and on. See the numbers 1 down there? You just click the letter to assign it. Let's delete that. Command K. And if you're brand new to sidechain compression, play with the threshold, ratio, and release until it starts to do what you want. Play with these whilst looking at this gain reduction trace. And to get a feel for what they do, but for the full story, do see my course on Groove 3. To explain all the controls and all the nuances, there's quite a lot to explain. In fact, it takes an hour or so, an hour and a half. And in this course, I also include why I use FF1 mode. It's somewhat common knowledge in the production world to use this, but in the course, I actually prove why. I prove why we use FF1 mode, which no one else does. No one else proves it. Marvelous. Catch you in the next one.